From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, June 9th, 2018. Silver is trading at $16.78 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,299 per ounce. Zencash is trading at $23, and the average price of Bitcoin is $7,672. Antiwar.com reports airstrikes against the Idlib province leveled a number of houses in the Zardana area, killing dozens of civilians. The exact death toll is contested, with some saying as many as 51 civilians were killed, while other tolls were lower. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights has been the monitor offering most of the casualty estimates on the attack, and added it was probably Russian warplanes behind the attack. However, Russia denies that was the case. Russia's defense ministry says they did not carry out any airstrikes at all in the Idlib province. They pointed to a possible alternative, however, saying they'd seen reports of heavy artillery fire in the area amid rebel infighting. With so many different nations conducting airstrikes in Syria, it is often difficult or even impossible to determine who was responsible for any particular strike. This has both made it hard to reliably discern reality and worryingly allowed nations to deny involvement with at least some plausibility, even when they were ultimately proved to be behind it. Zencash is the world's first private, distributed, and reliable platform for communications, transactions, and publishing. Zencash features documentation and wallets in many languages that are available for Linux, Mac, Windows, and Android devices. Learn more at zencash.com. That's zencash.com. UPI reports voters in 4 states this year will cast ballots to determine whether medical or recreational cannabis should be legalized, potentially expanding legal cannabis use to just shy of 2/3 of the states, even amid federal resistance to legal acceptance. Michigan is the only state to vote on recreational cannabis this year, in a measure similar to Colorado's existing recreational cannabis laws. Meanwhile, Utah, Oklahoma, and Missouri will vote on legalized medicinal cannabis. 29 states currently allow medicinal cannabis, with 9 states and the District of Columbia having legalized recreational cannabis. Despite the growing number of states legalizing cannabis, the U.S. federal government still has the right to prosecute people who violate cannabis-related federal crimes, causing confusion for states and citizens who are lawfully abiding by their state laws. A new bill introduced in Congress on Thursday could change that, all without federally legalizing cannabis. Senators Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Cory Gardner of Colorado announced Thursday's bipartisan legislation that would give states the right to legalize or decriminalize cannabis within their borders without federal interference. The Strengthening the 10th Amendment Through Entrusting States Act, known as the States Act, would protect cannabis users from federal prosecution so long as they comply with the requirements in their state's cannabis laws. There are 2 exceptions, however: the prohibition of endangering human life while manufacturing a controlled substance, and the prohibition of employing persons under age 18 in cannabis operations. In a high-level endorsement on Friday, President Donald Trump told reporters he probably will end up supporting the Warren-Gardner bill. Critics of the bill point out the intentional vagueness of the legislation, which could allow for a number of loopholes that both the federal and state governments could exploit. Despite its lack of specificity on some key issues, the Warren-Gardner cannabis reform bill is considered by many to be the first step forward in cannabis legislation reform and a possible compromise amenable to entrenched interest on both sides. But the bill would not eliminate the long-standing federal prohibition on cannabis, even though 61% of Americans now support its legalization. For over 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. And as a Bitcoin-preferred business, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports President Donald Trump held out an olive branch in his feud with National Football League players on Friday, asking them for recommendations as he considers pardoning several thousand people who may be unfairly treated by the criminal justice system. But civil rights activists were skeptical of Trump's gesture. Trump has been highly critical of NFL players who have protested the fatal police shootings of unarmed minorities and systemic inequities by kneeling during the playing of the national anthem at football games. On Friday, Trump challenged those players to advise him on employing his pardon power. He said his staff was examining some 3,000 cases of people who might deserve clemency. This has been FPP Radio News, online at FPPRadio.com.